Let's be honest. Sometimes it's not about the wine itself. It's about what the wine gives you. It makes the noise fade. It gives you just enough energy to get through the dinner chaos, the homework, the laundry piles. It turns grumpy into doable and exhaustion into let's just get through this. If you've ever felt like a glass of wine is the only way you can show up at home after a long day, it's become the switch that turns you back on when there's nothing left in the tank, then this episode is for you. It dulls the overwhelm, it makes dinner prep feel less endless, and it softens the edge between exhaustion and what still needs to get done. If that's been your reality, then let's talk about what's really going on beneath it and what else is possible. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh. Today's episode is going to hit home for a lot of you, especially the moms, the caregivers, and those of you who are doing everything for everyone and feeling like wine is the only thing getting you through. We're talking about mommy wine culture, but not in a judgmental, finger-pointing way. We're going to unpack why alcohol feels like a lifeline when you're burned out, overwhelmed, and just trying to keep up with life at home. I'll share what I've learned from coaching high-functioning women who use alcohol to power through the most mundane, exhausting parts of the day, like making dinner, folding laundry, or keeping your patience with your kids when your nerves are already shot. And more importantly, I'm going to give you real tools, emotional support strategies that don't involve pouring a glass of wine just to make it through the night. So whether you're questioning your relationship with alcohol or you're solid in your sobriety but still struggling to feel balanced and energized, you're in the right place. Let's start with this question. Why is wine the default coping tool for moms? The answer isn't just stress. It's deeper than that. It's about emotional survival in a culture that expects women to do it all with a smile on an empty tank. Wine has become the socially acceptable way for moms to say, I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, and I need an effing break. But instead of receiving real support, we get wine memes and coffee mugs. We get mommy needs wine t-shirts, not childcare, not community, not nervous system support, just a cultural wink and a glass of Cabernet. And here's the kicker. It's not just clever marketing. It's profitable normalization. Alcohol brands have leaned all the way into mom-targeted messaging, and it's made its way into every corner of our lives, from social media reels to school fundraiser events. And when you're juggling work and school pickup and homework meltdowns and trying to remember if anyone even fed the dog today, of course it feels like a drink is the only thing that lets you exhale. I want you to know this isn't your failing. This is a system that taught you to numb instead of ask for help. You've been taught to have a drink instead of have a breakdown. And if this part of the conversation is hitting something in you, if you've felt the pull of wine just to get through the dinner hour, then I really encourage you to go back and listen to my interview with Michelle Smith. Michelle is a therapist, a mom, and one of the leading voices calling out the damage of mommy wine culture. And in that episode, we unpack this whole dynamic, how it started, why it works on women like us, and what it's really doing to our mental health. It's episode number 239, and I'll link that in the show notes for you. It's a must listen. It's called Breaking Free from Mommy Wine Culture with Michelle Smith, episode 239. And you can always Google that too. Next, this is one of the most Googled questions around alcohol, especially for moms. And it's one of the biggest questions women ask me. Am I drinking too much? And there's no magic number. I feel like everybody wants to put a number on this and they think the quantity is the important detail, but it isn't at all. It's not about how much you're drinking, it's about why. Most of the women I work with aren't only drinking to party, they're drinking to cope. They're not always getting drunk, they're getting through. So it's not about whether you're drinking every day or only on weekends. It's not about counting glasses or measuring ounces. You can have just one and still have a problem if that one drink is propping you up emotionally. So instead of asking, how much am I drinking? A better question is, how much do I rely on alcohol to make me feel okay? That's what really signals an unhealthy relationship. When alcohol becomes your shortcut to calm, to patience, to energy, to connection, you may not be drinking in high volume, but if you're using it to get through dinner time with your kids or relying on it to shift your mood or your attitude after work or feeling like everything is harder without it, then it's not about the drink, it's about what the drink is doing for you. So if you're asking yourself this question, here's what I want you to look at. Not how many glasses you're having, but what's happening before you pour the glass. Are you reaching for a drink when you're feeling emotionally maxed out? Is it helping you power through things you're too exhausted to deal with? Are you drinking to feel more patient, less resentful, or just less angry, less lonely, less depleted? If alcohol has become the solution to everything you don't have the bandwidth to face, that's your answer. I've had clients tell me, like, I don't even want to drink most days, but it's the only thing that makes cooking dinner feel doable. You're emotionally overloaded and your brain is using the quickest tool it knows to get relief. And once you start to see it for what it really is, not a bad habit, but an emotional pattern, you can start replacing that pattern with something that actually supports you. That's the root of this emotional addiction. And it's sneaky because it feels so functional. It's not about getting drunk, it's about getting by. So, yes, if alcohol has become your go-to for managing life, even in small amounts, it's worth taking a deeper look. Because when your nervous system is so fried that wine feels like your only relief, that's not just drinking, that's coping. And the good news is there are better tools that don't leave you more tired and anxious and ashamed the next day. All right, before we get into the real life tools that help you replace that glass of wine with something way more supportive, I want to take a second and tell you about a simple shift that's made a huge difference in my own recovery routine. And that's my Cozy Earth sheets. Cozy Earth's whole mission is to transform your 5 to 9, the time that matters most, into the most comfortable part of your day. And honestly, that matters when you're sober and rebuilding your nervous system. Their bamboo viscose sheets are temperature regulating, and I'm telling you, you feel the difference. It is brutally hot where I live already, and these sheets keep me cooler without sacrificing softness. And here's the thing, you can try them risk-free for 100 nights. That's the entire summer. If you're not in love, you can send them back. Trust me, you will not want to. I also love their all-day tea and their studio pant collection. They're breathable, light, and really feels like wearing pajamas in public. So if you're ready to upgrade your summer, head to CozyEarth.com, use my special code Angela for 40% off. Sleep cooler, lounge lighter, and stay cozy. You deserve it. The next question is, what can I do instead? When wine becomes your go-to for getting through the hardest parts of the day, we have to get really honest about what your brain is trying to solve. It's not about the drink. It's about the relief, the shift, that tiny bit of peace you're seeking. So here's the good news. You can create that same emotional shift with tools that actually support you and not sabotage you. And these are strategies, super simple strategies that I use with my clients every single day. And they work even when you're totally maxed out or overstimulated or feel like everything is on your shoulders. And the first tool is the one song reset. Pick one feel good, energizing song, pop in your earbuds, and move for 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can sway, you can stretch, you can just bop around while making dinner. This works because it gives your brain a dopamine hit, and that shifts your mood and breaks the autopilot craving loop. The next tool is the good enough mantra. That's what we're going to call it. Whisper this to yourself. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be done. Whether it's parenting, dinner, laundry, or bedtime battles, this pulls you out of pressure and into presence. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be done. And it works because it counters the shame spiral that often triggers the first drink. Many of us struggle with being perfectionists. We want everything to be just right. And when it's not, that's when the shame spiral comes in, and that's when that drink is triggered. So remember, the good enough mantra, it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be done. And the next tool is a grounding trick. And you hear this talked about in a few different ways. And I think I've actually talked about this just in the last few episodes. The 3-2-1 grounding trick. And you'll also hear it with all different numbers. The numbers aren't the important part, but name 3 things you can see, 2 things you can touch, 1 thing you can hear. It takes a few seconds and it helps you come back to your body and your breath and your actual needs, not your craving. And this works because it calms your nervous system in real time and it gives you a pause before you pour a glass. Right? This brings you back into the present moment. When our brains start going crazy, it's usually future tripping, right? How am I going to get this done? How's this going to work? What's this going to be like? Am I going to be good at it? Is it going to suck? Am I going to fail? Am I going to disappoint everybody? It's all that future stuff, right? Wondering. It's the uncertainty of the future stuff. So grounding tricks are fantastic because it brings you back into the present moment. It doesn't matter what might or might not happen 5 minutes from now, 5 days from now, or 5 months from now. You need to be in the present moment right now. 3 things you can see, 2 things you can touch, 1 thing you can hear. This just brings you back into your body in the present moment and relieves your nervous system. These tools might seem small, but they're powerful because they give you options. And when you have options, you have power. And this is what I teach in coaching every day, how to recognize emotional triggers, respond differently, and rebuild trust with yourself so that alcohol doesn't get to run the show. If that's what you're ready for, real change, real tools, and real support, there are a ton of ways to work with me. But for this moment, start by just listening to your body right here, right now. Choose one of these tools to use today and start using it. Tools take practice too, by the way. Like we don't just listen to the episode and hear these 3 tools and then go on with our lives. It takes practice to remember the tools, right? It takes practice when my brain starts spinning out of control to remember like, oh, wait a second, I have tools I can use. That takes practice. Especially when your brain is spinning out of control because you're not thinking rationally. You're not thinking about the right things. It takes practice to remember the tools, right? So you've got to think about the tools. And then in the moment, you got to remember to use the tools. And then you have to actually use the tools. So it all takes practice. So just start practicing however you want to do that. Remember, I say when something is a priority, it means it becomes the priority over other things. So if you need to set a reminder in your phone or put a Post-it note on your bathroom mirror, or I put Post-it notes on the steering wheel of my car a lot of times because I'll forget when I have errands to run. So I need to see that Post-it. You can do the same thing with your tools. Right? Like I'll do meditations, short meditations throughout my day just to calm my nervous system so my anxiety never gets the best of me. I can stay pretty centered and calm most of the time because I'm using the tools. So whatever you have to do to remember the tools, I just gave you 3 more, right? Start practicing using the tools today. I know this episode may have stirred up some big realizations, and maybe you're seeing your relationship with alcohol a little differently now, not as a party habit, but as an emotional codependence that crept in to help you cope. And if that's what you're feeling, that's okay. It doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It means you've been surviving in the only way you knew how. And now you're waking up to the fact that you want more peace, more energy, more control, more presence in your life. What you've been doing isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Your brain found a way to keep you going. But now you're ready for tools that don't come with regret. That's the work I do with my clients. We dig into all those patterns. We rebuild your energy and confidence without relying on wine to get you through the tough stuff. If you've been listening to this and nodding along, if you're feeling that little nudge that maybe you don't want to do this alone anymore, then I want you to know I've got you. Whether you're ready for private coaching, group support, or you're still just quietly listening and collecting tools, you're in the right place. This podcast is your starting line. The next step is just saying yes to more. More calm, more clarity, more you. And you don't have to earn it. You already deserve it. So let's bring this full circle. Maybe you came into this episode asking, am I drinking too much? And now you realize it was never about the number of drinks. It's about how tired you are, how lonely you feel, how heavy it's all gotten. You're not chasing a buzz, you're chasing a break from the noise and the pressure. And if a glass of wine has been your only pause button, then let this be your turning point, because you don't need alcohol to make you softer, funnier, more patient, or more lovable. You were already all of those things before you ever picked up a drink. You don't need wine to survive your life. You deserve to actually enjoy it. And that version of you, the one who handles hard days without numbing, who feels proud of how she shows up, who reconnects with herself instead of disconnecting, that version is already in you. She's just waiting for you to stop pouring wine over her and let her finally breathe. If this episode moved something in you, take the next step, hit subscribe, leave a review, send this to another mom who's been quietly carrying too much. And when you're ready for more support, I'll be here walking this path with you every step of the way. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.